Hello lovely people, it is Victoria. Welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to talk about something I was actually surprised I did not include in my recent video about Tana Mongeau, which is the situation with her and Cody Ko. Quite a few people have been talking about this, but also not enough people are talking about this, and it seems like there's quite a bit of effort on Cody's part, especially to keep this from getting out and the talk about this from getting too widespread, at least within his control on his Reddit and whatever. So a few weeks ago, I started hearing rumblings and seeing different videos by channels I like talking about the Cody Ko situation, Cody Ko allegations, and I didn't really look into it at first, but then after a while I was like, okay, what did Cody Ko do? How bad is this? What's going on? And I found out that, I have to say, allegedly, but according to Tana Mongeau, Cody Ko slept with her when he was 25 and she was 17. And there's been a lot of people looking at old videos of them together, their interactions, the things that are weird about those interactions, the way he would look at her, the way he talked to her, how he made it very clear that he was aware she was a teenager, and also looking at those videos and seeing how different she looks and how young she obviously is, and how he looks basically the same. It's really disturbing. I was a big fan of Cody Ko. I have been for a long time, maybe 6 years. I rewatch his videos all the time, and Tiny Meat Gang content, Noelle as well. I've been a big fan of both of them for a long time. But that was about all it took. That was about all it took. And we've learned more since then about, apparently, allegedly, he had an accused rapist in his wedding party. And there's been quite a few things that just overall, I'm done. I am done. I have unsubscribed, and I was actually kind of shocked at how easy this was for me to do. And people can talk about, mom mentality, whatever. Oh, you just like who you're supposed to like until they get canceled, whatever. It's not about following a mom mentality or anything like that, because is there even a mom mentality on this? Because there's still a lot of fans of his that are defending him and are going back and are being pretty hypocritical, because they would probably advocate for the victim if the victim was accusing literally anyone else. Even though Tana doesn't identify herself as a victim, she says that she's aware that what he did was wrong, but she doesn't necessarily associate it with trauma or view it as trauma. But that does not mean that it was okay at all. That does not excuse the behavior of the adult in the situation. And I felt like it was important for me to talk about it just for myself, because I'm about to be 25, and thinking back to where I was at 17, it is so fucking disgusting. That is so fucking disgusting. I was such a baby at 17, and you were such a baby at 17. You think you know everything. You think you're so mature. You get this validation from attention from older people, and the fact that someone would take advantage of that is so disgusting. It's disappointing to see people that say they believe victims and say that they're against predatory behavior continuing to defend him and finding, exceptions of why this isn't as bad as it would be if it was anyone else, which even outside of she was the age of consent, so it's okay, which that's a whole other fucking can of worms, but she was not the age of consent in California. So it was illegal. That was literally a crime. So yeah, I was kind of shocked at how easy it was for me to be like, okay, we're done with Cody. And we're done with Cody. But that is such a just a disgusting action, and it takes such a disgusting mindset. And I watched the canceled episode recently where Tana was talking about kind of people's reaction to it and how so many people have been on some but what was she wearing type shit and completely victim blaming and slut shaming and saying, oh, it's Tana, so we can't believe her, and this isn't that bad, and she should expect this kind of thing, and da da da. And it's disappointing. I hope she is aware of the people that are validating her and that are not choosing to continue to support him. But she also talks about a few years ago at a Playlist Live where Gabby Hanna, of all people, called Cody out. She was a peer of his. They were the same age at this time. A fellow 25-year-old. Angelica Oles put it in these terms, and that made me have a lot more respect for Gabby, is that she was a peer of Cody's, and she called him the fuck out and was like, hey, she's 17, right? This is super fucking weird. I know this is a bare minimum thing, but I just have to give Gabby her flowers. She is a lot of things, and I have a lot to say about her a lot of the time, but I was like, thank you for not condoning predatory behavior. Like, I love that that's a line that we still haven't crossed. Like, thank you for at least maintaining that moral. But yeah, just where I stand and with what I believe is okay, and also with the personal experiences that I've gone through, and being almost 25 and thinking about a 17-year-old, especially just even myself at 17, it's inexcusable. It's unacceptable. There's no fucking excuse for it, and there is nothing that would make it okay. There's nothing that makes that an okay thing to do at all. Let alone when you know that the person is 17 and you're literally told by other people, like, hey, this isn't normal, this isn't okay, like, maybe you should check yourself, and you completely disregard it and continue to go hook up with that 17-year-old. Like, you don't even let yourself have a moment of pause. Like, there's no reflection, there's no apprehension at all. That it was a complete abuse of power, especially since Tana also said that she was a fan of his. It sucks, because, yeah, I did really like his content, and it's a weird situation when you think about him having a wife and kids, and there has been some talk about, like, how much do you think Kelsey knew? How much do you think Kelsey co-signed this? Especially with, like, the rapist that was in her wedding party, and there are people saying there's no way she couldn't have known that his friend had done something like that. She must have co-signed the situation, and what do you think she thinks about this? And, like, I don't even know how to feel about that, because I don't want to necessarily make women responsible for the actions of the men that they're associated with. But also, there are a lot of situations where women will co-sign the actions of men that they're associated with, even if that behavior is not okay. Yeah, I don't want to speak for her. I would be very, very interested to hear a response, but it just seems like they're taking the silent approach and just kind of hoping that if they don't talk about it, people will gradually stop talking about it. But, like, I don't really think that's the most productive thing, and I don't really think that method has a great track record of working and having the desired effect. I mean, sometimes it does, but with shit like this, I feel like not talking about it kind of just makes it worse, and it just kind of makes you look worse, and it creates more resentment from your fans of, like, why it just looks really bad. It's like, why are you not acknowledging this? Why are your moderators deleting anybody that mentions Tana's name on your subreddit? Like, it's just deflect and ignore seems to be the strategy here, and that's disappointing. So I hope there continues to be more of his fans that hold themselves to the same standards that they hold other people, and that they want other people's fans to hold themselves to, and they continue to not support people that display behavior that they don't agree with, especially when they're not even willing to acknowledge or apologize for it. I think that's kind of the majority of what I had to say about the Tana and Cody situation. I didn't know anything about it, and it still seems like there's more and more information about it that's continuing to come out. And so if there's more things that I learn, then I will probably update this with my additional commentary. But this story in general, I wasn't planning on talking about this, but the story in general made me think about my personal experience as a minor and a barely legal young adult, 17, 18, 19, and the interactions that I had with people that were significantly older than me, and all the situations in which I was, like, probably definitely taken advantage of. And those situations vary in intensity and in the wrongness with which I view them. Like, it kind of ranges from when I was, 17, hooking up with dudes that were like 19, but that I had known when they were under 18. So it didn't really feel like a power imbalance situation, but I kind of knew of them. We weren't really, like, friendly, but then I would be 17, 19, and then we would hook up, and the shitty ways that they treated me, and then it's kind of like, okay, that's shitty, but is that trauma? I don't really know, but it probably wasn't, the best. A more notable situation when I was 17, almost 18, and had a weeks-long sexting, flirting relationship with a 22-year-old that I had met in the city, because he worked at a Starbucks near a convention center where Comic-Con was being held. So I met him right before I turned 18, pretty positive. Just a few weeks before I turned 18, I met him, and we pretty much immediately started sexting. We would do, like, Skype sex and stuff, and he knew I was 17. He knew it, and he would say shit, you're so mature for your age, and would say super sexual things, and he seemed almost like turned on by the fact that I wasn't legal. And I remember him talking about how he intended to like actually do physical stuff with me once I turned 18. And so I, I don't want to use the word grooming, but it's kind of hard to not feel like that there was some element of grooming going on there. But that situation ended when my parents caught us having Skype sex one time, and I was defending it, saying, I'm almost 18, like, I'm basically legal. And I remember them being like, you're not, though. Like, being legal is like being pregnant. You either are or you're not. Being close to it doesn't give you any additional points, it doesn't make anything better. And he knew that I was hiding this relationship from my parents. He knew that I would like hope they wouldn't hear us talking and that this was something I needed to hide. He knew it and he was completely okay with it. So I look back at that and that's super fucked up and disgusting. And after we got found out about it, I forget exactly how it ended, but we just didn't really have any contact anymore. I wasn't able to see him. And it wasn't until a few years later that I was like, wow, that's so fucking disgusting. And especially when I was like 21, 22, I was like, I would not dream of doing that. Like, that is so disgusting. That is so disgusting. I would never do that. At 22, I wouldn't even like flirt with an 18, 19-year-old. That was such a mental distance and mental difference. I I can't like, so yeah, shit like that. Or around that same time, 17, 18, the summer before I started college, I started getting into a little bit of a rebellious phase, and I started sneaking out in the middle of the night to meet up with these dudes that I'd be like Facebook messaging or whatever. One in particular, he was an adult. I think he was probably like 19, 20, maybe 21 when I was 17, almost 18. And he met up with me. I remember we were just down the street from my house, just in the dark on the sidewalk, like no one was around, just in this neighborhood. And we were just talking, and I got a weird vibe. And we were playing Truth or Dare. And I think he asked, I think it was a truth, and then he asked if he could kiss me, or it was something about he wanted to kiss me, and I remember I didn't respond. I didn't say anything at all. I barely even looked at him. I like completely froze, and I did not give consent, but he took that as consent, and he proceeded to kiss me anyway. And I somehow got out of that situation, and he was trying to talk to me afterwards, and I just like blocked him and didn't talk to him again. And then he Facebook requested me a few years later, but that was super fucking creeper behavior that I didn't even realize was creepy until later, because I was like, oh my god, I'm mature. These guys think I'm sexy because I'm so developed. It's so fucking disgusting. So disgusting. Or when I was 17, we have a fucking list. I have a list. I didn't even think of this as super creepy, probably because of my own bias. But I was literally a minor, 17 years old, also sexting with a 21-year-old girl. And we had like a flirting, like texting relationship where we got super, emotionally intimate with each other. And she would send me these, messages about what she wanted to do to me, da da da. She knew I was 17. She knew. She was 21, knowingly sexting a 17-year-old. And that was normal. I literally did not even think of that as, wow, she shouldn't have been doing that. And I will admit my own biases, because I was like, if that was a dude, I probably would have noticed that was creepy earlier. But it was literally days ago that I was like, wow, that was not okay. It was not okay. When I was making YouTube videos at the time, and I was really into the music commentary community, and I'd watch all these music review channels, there was a music review channel that it's still up. It has about 2,000 subscribers. He hasn't uploaded in like 5 years. This dude was as far as I know, I'm 99.9% positive that I remember him telling me he was 26 when I was 17, and he was texting me. He knew I was 17, almost 18, and he was texting me saying I was super hot and all this shit. Sexting a 17-year-old at 26. It was so normal. And this was all happening within like a year and a half long period, but so many of these things would literally happen like weeks apart from each other. And I do kind of look back at it. It's hard not to have a victim blaming mentality of like, what was I attracting? What was I doing that was attracting these older people and making them think that it was okay to talk to me in this way? Probably because they didn't think I'd think there was anything wrong with it. They were probably hoping I wouldn't think there was anything wrong with it and I would just assume it was normal. Like a fucking predator. Just days after I turned 18 is when I had my sexual assault experience where I was groped by somebody that I met on Tinder at my workplace. So that also kind of fits into the creepy people season. And the last thing that sticks out in my mind as kind of capping off that season of creepy people was when I was 19, and it was a weeks long relationship, flirtationship, situationship thing. It wasn't official, but it was this definite thing that I had with this person when I was 19 and they were 29. It was a 10-year age difference. Hi friends, I just filmed this video, but I just wanted to add in a little clip just saying like age gap relationships in and of themselves are not the problem. I mentioned that when I was talking about the idea of you, which even the shit I said in that video, like I probably isn't super set in stone when it comes to, you know, someone like a 24-year-old and a 40-year-old. You know, I was like, I wouldn't do it, but I wouldn't date a 40-year-old as a 24-year-old, but I wouldn't necessarily judge someone who did. But a 10-year age gap when you're 19, you know, that mindset, when there's still a teen in there, you feel age gaps more. I didn't even realize at the time how much of a difference that age gap made in that specific situation, but I look back and I was like, wow, what was wrong with you? To the guy, not to me. You know, sometimes I was a little like, wow, you were really into that dude, like you really fucking had it bad for him and you kind of made it super obvious to everybody all the time. But I look back at that dude and I was like, wow, you're fucking disgusting. They worked at my university at the Starbucks, another fucking Starbucks barista. I didn't even make that connection. I had a crush on him. I didn't know how old he was. He's one of those people that could kind of be like any age just by looking at him. Somehow got his number and we started texting, and then turns out he liked me too. He found out I was 19. I found out he was 29. I was okay with him being 29. He was okay with me being 19. Do with that what you will. He like immediately became sexual. Like within days of us talking, we had hooked up. We got pretty close. He told me that he had a long-term partner of like 6 years at that point, and she was more closer in age, but he was polyamorous and he was looking for additional connections, but that he did have a primary partner. I got so fucking infatuated with this dude. It ended up with me thinking that I was in love with him because I was so infatuated. It was so obvious to everyone else in my life. I look back and it was like, it's actually kind of embarrassing to think about. But I try to be nice to myself about it because it was just such a 19-year-old infatuation. But I literally went to Starbucks like 3 times a day sometimes just to talk to this fucking dude. I was spending like $25 on Starbucks that I did not need. I was like bouncing off the fucking walls because I only ever had coffee. I only ever get Starbucks coffee from Starbucks. But I was having like fucking 4 coffees a day, or even just loitering around the kiosk. And all these other people, all his coworkers probably just thought it was so obvious, but I would just hang around and talk to him for like 15 minutes, whatever. I was always looking for an excuse to talk to him. I remember one time we agreed to meet up after he got off work so he could walk me to the bus stop, and I like misinterpreted the instructions, and we ended up not being able to meet up because I left early, and I was so mad at myself. I was like, I missed out on an opportunity to talk to him, and I could have done this, and we could have talked about this, and maybe we could have led to this, and I could have gotten more. And it was one of those things where it's like someone tells you that they're not going to be able to give you what you need, and you kind of convince yourself that you don't need it, or that you'll be okay with whatever you get and it'll be fine because you'll at least get to be with them and get that little thrill out of it. And so you think that it'll all balance out in the end. It just didn't. I was so infatuated with him. It was driving me crazy. And there came a point where I basically was convinced that I was in love with him. And it kind of, the way I felt just on a day-to-day basis, it did kind of feel like how rom-coms describe being in love. Like that anxiety, that feeling in your stomach, the thinking about them constantly. But like, I really feel like that was just infatuation. I'm still we're still trying to rediscover and kind of redefine for ourselves what love means in different contexts, and we continue to do so all the time. I'm not entirely sure I know what love means sometimes, if we're being honest, at least like in a romantic way, or like being in love or whatever. But like it really felt like I was in love. And I remember I was at work. I worked at a grocery store at the time, and people would make small talk with me and be like, "Oh, so how's your day going?" And I'm like, "I'm pretty stressed out because I'm thinking when I get off work, I'm gonna tell my friend that I'm in love with them." Ma'am, this is a Wendy's. I remember this one lady. She was so nice about it. She was like, "Oh, well, good luck." So I was so scared. Later on, I remember I sent him this essay of a text because that was the only way I could think of saying it. And I just said, like, I am in love with you, and I know you probably aren't in love with me, and I totally get that. But the time I've spent with you is amazing, and da 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 da. And then he responded and just said, I don't feel the same way at all, and which was fine. And he said that he has a primary partner, and me saying this thing made him realize that he was suddenly a one woman man after telling me for weeks that he didn't believe in monogamy and he was polyamorous and he liked having the freedom to be with whoever he wanted and explore whoever he thought was interesting. And yeah, but then he's like, I'm realizing I'm a one woman man and you don't know me, you don't know the things I've done. I've done these traumatic things and I was in the military and I've killed people and you don't know the darkness I carry. And I remember just being, I was in a place where I just wanted someone's darkness. I wanted to know everything about him. I wanted all of his pain. I wanted to know everything about him. I wanted to be like that person for somebody. But we just weren't at that level of emotional intimacy that I thought we were at. And then him not feeling the same about me was fine. That was fine. But what's weird about it looking back is I had gotten into a really dumb situation a few days earlier. I will probably make a story time about this, but basically I got scammed by somebody. I was really, really dumb, and I basically fell for a phishing scam, and I gave someone really, really critical information about me. And when I realized that shit was going south and that I fucked up, I got really stressed out, and I felt like I couldn't really tell my parents or people that were actually close to me. And so I texted this guy and was telling this guy, probably because I knew he had been in the military, so I was like, he'll know what to do. But he did help me through that situation. But he kind of took that situation and sort of threw it in my face, and was like, this situation where you did this and you let this happen to you really made me realize that you're not mature enough for me. You're really immature, and in a way that I just can't afford to have in my life right now. And it's like, yeah, because you hooked up with a 19-year-old when you're almost 30, you fucking weirdo. Yeah, he literally pulled the, I hooked up with someone who's a decade younger than me and in a completely different stage of life because I think she's sexy and fun to have around as entertainment. But oh, she's actually, you're not mature enough for me. What goes through your mind? It's like, oh yeah, this girl that she was hot enough for me to hook up with, but not mature. Like it just felt so. It's hard to even describe, but it just felt so patronizing. And it's like, yeah, you didn't expect that a 19-year-old would be immature. You didn't expect that. I mean, not all 19-year-olds would do the dumb shit that I did and fall for the shit that I fell for. That's fair. But it's like, did it just was giving the, I thought you were one of those mature 19-year-olds that could hang with me and where I'm at in my 29 years. And it was just really weird. And I look back and I was like, wow, he probably thought I was mature for my age. He probably thought I was mature for my age. I'm gonna fucking throw up. Yeah, that's about that. I think that's about it, at least that I can remember currently about the seasons of really creepy people that I've interacted with when I was not legal and then when I was barely legal, and just huge age differences and power imbalances and shit like that. And I just wanted to share that because I was just recently emboldened to, actually because of this Tana situation, I was like, you know what, let me fucking speak about this. It's been kind of weighing on my heart, and if people can have whatever opinion about it they want, but I've recently validated myself of like, those situations were not okay. I was not mature enough to be in them, and the people that were on the other sides of those situations were super fucking creepy. And yeah, 17 and 22, I'm like, that's fucking disgusting. So yeah, 17 and 25, absolutely foul. Absolutely foul. There's no, I love nuance. I love allowing for nuance. There's just no nuance in this as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed those stories and my commentary on this. Please let me know what you think in a comment down below. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I make several videos a week. I'm still trying to figure out a solid schedule. And we make lots of different kinds of content, whatever strikes a chord with me and whatever I feel like I'm talking about. And we have a good time. So I hope you stick around. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.